We know that if Kamala Harris wins by 3 million votes and yet does not become president, she will concede. That's a no-brainer. We also know that if Donald Trump does not win the election, he will not concede, and he will proceed to try to bring us to civil war.
Well, here we go again. Yet another day filled or weekend filled with people screaming about how this or that is a threat to democracy. Criticism of politicians, threat to democracy. Criticism of people voting for Kamala Harris, threat to democracy. Donald Trump speaking out and saying he's going to put his enemies in jail, which, of course, is a little bit of an oversimplification of what's actually being said, but that's a threat to democracy as well. And they're serious about this. These people, they mean what they're saying. Okay, just keep this in mind. I'm not suggesting they don't mean what they're saying. They absolutely mean what they're saying. Listen to Joy Reid. MSNBC host Joy Reid is terrified about what's going to happen in this country if Donald Trump is elected. And she seems to think she's going to jail. And she seems to think that anyone that disagrees with Donald Trump is going to jail. She seems to believe these things. And look, more power to her. Let's listen to what she has to say.
We have a system in this country based on the slavery period in which the American people don't elect the president. The Electoral College elects the president. And so you can lose an election in which Hillary Clinton got 3 million more votes. And the only way for Kamala Harris to win the election is to get probably 4 million or more additional votes over Donald Trump. We already know she is. I don't make a lot of predictions. I can make two. Kamala Harris will win the popular vote, and black men will be the second highest percentage voters for Kamala Harris.
Okay, so let's go through a couple of things. One, the Electoral College is not a slavery system. It's a stupid thing to say. But this woman has about one bit, and it's race and division, so it's actually two. So let her do her thing. It gets worse. It gets a lot worse. She has other predictions as well.
It won't be them if she's not president. Just want to throw that out there. Behind black women. And so the question, I think, is framed in a way that only has one side be accountable for standing up and being adults and pretending like the losing side in a football game. Only one side is required to do that. We know that if Kamala Harris wins by 3 million votes and yet does not become president, she will concede. That's a no-brainer. We also know that if Donald Trump does not win the election, he will not concede, and he will proceed to try to bring us to civil war and try to drag the election through the courts and try to have Mike Johnson make him president or have...
You mean like they did in 2000 and in 2004 and in 2016? Democrats have challenged the last 3 times Republicans have won. They've done the exact same thing. Why do we keep pretending that Democrats insist on going nicely into the night? That's not what happens. Stacey Abrams still denying some elections. Hillary Clinton suggested the elections were stolen. This woman right here has suggested that Putin stole the elections for Donald Trump. This is not even true. It's not even a real telling of the situation. Donald Trump conceded. Yes, he argued. He said, I have legal reasons to argue. He was shut down. Whether you think that's okay or not, that's what happened.
John Roberts make him president. We know how this is going, and we know where it's going. I think we need to examine the system that does not allow the winner of the popular vote to become president. I think no matter if Vice President Harris wins and Democrats retain the House and Senate, we need to have a serious conversation about the state of our democracy because it is lacking. And then the last thing I will say is that if Donald Trump does win, there won't be Democrats go back and figure out how to get more voters and figure out how to change your positions. There will be camps. There will be Project 2025. There could be arrests of people like Adam Schiff. There could be Nancy Pelosi being hauled off to jail. And if you don't think that that's possible, then you really don't understand that there is no American exceptionalism. We're just a country like every other country. My father lived under Mobutu Sese Seko.
Okay, first off, there is American exceptionalism. The fact that you are on television every day is, an example of this. And I don't mean that you're an exceptional person. What I mean by that is you are a person that can succeed even with such limited intellect that going on television every single day and saying, oh, they're going to steal the election, oh, they're going to steal the election, oh, they're going to steal the election, was something you did leading up until 2016 and in 2020. And after you didn't get your way in 2016, you said the election was stolen. So for 4 years, you said the election was stolen. And then in 2020, the next day, you demanded everyone accept the election. And that became the prevailing narrative. And now you're going to lecture us on Mobutu and camps.
Seko. If you ran against Mobutu Sese Seko's party, you went to jail. That happened in my father's lifetime.
It kind of happened here, too, if you think about it. I mean, can we have a conversation about, I don't know, Steve Bannon? Can we have a conversation about other people that were close to Trump? Can we have a conversation about the fact that they're trying to put Trump in jail? And just yesterday, people like Fani Willis at a hearing in Georgia, it became clear that she was going to try to go after Donald Trump before she was even elected. She didn't know of any crimes or anything. She said, we're going to go find Donald Trump. We're going to get him. Same thing they did in New York. Same thing Jack Smith is doing right before an election. Releasing a bunch of redacted nonsense and saying, look, this means he's guilty, which is not what it means. But these are the stories that are told by people like Joy Reid, who is a complete imbecile.
Maduro is putting people in jail if on your WhatsApp they find that you're saying things against Maduro. That's happening right now in our neighboring country that wants to invade my mother's country, Guyana, because they have oil. These are happening in our neighborhood. There is no, our democracy is much more like a Latin American democracy than it is like England or Germany or any part of Europe. We are a Latin American country. So everything you see happen in Brazil, Venezuela, it all can happen here. So
these are the same people that support Maduro and the leaders in Brazil. Just FYI, they support that stuff. They fought to get those people to stay in power and to take power. Maduro stay there, and what's happening in Brazil, they support. So I don't know why she's saying this. And by the way, this is sort of like her lusting after these opportunities, not necessarily being worried about them. It's not what Donald Trump's going to do to them. It's what they're going to do to Donald Trump and everyone else. And that's true. We've seen it. We've seen it.
So there isn't going to be an opportunity for Vice President Harris to be the bigger party because we will be fighting for our survival as a democracy, and some people will be fighting for their actual survival. So I think the question misses the point because if Kamala Harris doesn't win, it's not clear there will be another election. So that's the stakes.
That is not the stakes, and you're an imbecile. And I think we all know that, but I mean, it's fine. This is a completely acceptable discourse in this country, and this woman has a television show on MSNBC. And it's fine. She wants to voice those opinions, that's fine. But people should be like, this is not what's going to happen here. But there was more of this weekend. Bill Maher tries to have a conversation, and I know Bill Maher is like the good guy on the left right now because he speaks some sanity. I'll keep in mind he's also insane, and you're going to see that a little here. But two of the biggest lunatics with Trump derangement syndrome, Mark Cuban and Joe Scarborough, these guys, they're having a rough one. They really are. And you feel for them, but watch as they go off the rails.
All right, apropos we were just talking about, and again, not a false equivalency person, there was the Al Smith dinner. That is something that I've seen, since I've been following politics. They have it every year in New York City. It's for the Catholic charities or whatever. Every year the two candidates show up. And it's always like something that makes us feel good, or has in the past, because it's just saying, look, even a few weeks out before the election, we can be on the same stage, we can eat at the same dinner, we can even get up and make jokes about each other.
Right.
I feel like it's a turning point when we can't even do that, and we can't. Kamala didn't show up. I understand why she wouldn't. Yeah. He's a monster.
The monster's the guy who showed up at the Catholic charity. Just so you know, just to be clear.
The rhetoric has been awful for a very long time, but some of the stuff in the last week or so, the enemy from within, he's calling the people he doesn't like. I mean, he's done this before, enemy, not just adversary. Michael Flynn, who Michael Flynn is, he was the general, he was his national security advisor for about 3 weeks before he got canned for dealing with Russia. I know it's a hoax, wink, wink. No, it's not a hoax.
No, it actually was a hoax. It is a hoax. Yes, it is.
He was asked by someone at an event, is there any chance that if Trump wins, you will get reinstated and sit at the head of a military tribunal to not only drain the swamp, but imprison the swamp, and in some cases, execute the swamp. And Michael Flynn could be back in his old job. And he said, well, he goes on, doesn't say, no, I'm not going to do that. That's crazy. He says, we win, and then Katie bar the door. Believe me, the gates of hell, my hell, will be unleashed. Now, I know what the Republicans say is, yeah, he talks like a fascist. He'd never really do it.
That's not what I'm saying. They're saying Katie bar the door because retribution is going to come. You tried to put a lot of people in jail for things that normally aren't prosecuted. We're going to start doing the same thing. That's what he's saying. That's what they're all saying. And I don't know why they're pretending they don't understand this. If Donald Trump is named Joe Biden, and we're going back 4 years, we can see with Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump is not getting prosecuted. Joe Biden's not getting prosecuted. Joe Biden's not getting prosecuted now. That's what they're talking about. And they're pretending they don't understand. And just keep this in mind. I just think this is important. 90% of their argument is based on the idea that they can't understand what's happening around them. And then they want you to take them seriously. Listen to what comes next.
He used to say he'd put Hillary in jail. Remember? Everything was lock her up. He didn't do it. He had 4 years he could have done it. That's not good enough for me.
He tried to do it. He went to 2 attorney generals, and both of them said, we have nothing to bring charges against her on. People don't remember 2 weeks before the election in 2020, he was pressuring Barr, his attorney general, to arrest Joe Biden. What drives me crazy is
that's not what was happening. He was saying do an investigation into what's going on with Brisbane, which, by the way, was happening and did happen. And we all know that. We know that the Joe Biden crime family existed and they didn't investigate it. And that's a perfect example of this. That's a perfect example. We all know that happened now. And there's no interest in any actual criminal prosecution. So they're only making the point. He went to his people and said, investigate. They didn't do it. He didn't fire them for not investigating. That's not what happened. He said, investigate these people. They said there's no crimes, which there were. And that was the end of it. That's not fascism. Again, the scary thing that they're afraid of is retribution for what they did. They accused Trump in 2016 of doing the things that Joe Biden did after 2020. Tell me that's wrong. Prove to me that that's wrong. But that's exactly what happened. And now they're worried, wait a second, we've now proven how to use the government against your political enemies. It's going to happen to us too.
This past week, I don't want people to listen to me. I don't want them to listen to you. I don't want them to listen to anybody. I want them to listen to what Donald Trump says. And this past week, Donald Trump said that he was going to use the military and the National Guard to arrest his political opponents. He was asked if he would back off of that.
He said no.
And he said no. Yep. In fact, he doubled down.
In fact, he did not double down. What he said was, and it was clear, and this is why Kamala Harris got so mad, because the clarification wasn't as terrible as they wanted it to be. He said they've done a lot of things in this country, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. Joe Scarborough, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Bill Maher, Mark Cuban, they all believe that that means they're all going to jail, as if they're telling on themselves. They are trying to put Donald Trump in jail right now for all sorts of different things. It's ridiculous to even be having this conversation as if they don't know what's actually going on right now. Jack Smith released stuff this week.
He talked about Nancy Pelosi being evil, her husband being evil, Schiff being evil.
Okay, so you guys have called him a traitor and treasonous for years. What's the problem? You can't say that they're evil. They are evil.
Talking about arresting them. He said he was going to execute the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff because he was disloyal to him. He told another chief of staff who was a general, I wish my generals were like Hitler's generals.
It's a new season of The Sopranos. It's crazy. I mean, it really is.
It's crazy because all of this is ridiculous. That's why it's crazy. He said, I wish my generals were like Hitler's generals. So it's just insane stuff here they're talking about. All devoid of context, and they don't even care. They don't even care about the context here. All it is he said these words, therefore, he's a bad guy. I mean, it's just a completely insane nonsense. Just completely insane nonsense.
Yes, I mean, but people, you tell people this, and they go, oh, he didn't say that. You show them the clip. And then they go, he doesn't mean that.
He doesn't.
He
That's it.
does mean
And that's when
that.
they say you have Trump derangement syndrome. And I would just like to say to my Republican friends, it's not deranged to fear this.
No.
It's not deranged.
It is deranged because you're taking things that don't make sense and you're drawing conclusions. He wants loyalty from his generals. Therefore, you guys are suggesting that he's just like Hitler because Hitler wanted loyalty from his generals as well. No, he wants loyalty from his generals just like Joe Biden wants loyalty from his general. If Joe Biden's generals aren't loyal, he's going to fire them. That's the exact same thing. There is nothing wrong with this. Yet here we are again pretending, because if you say the word Hitler, you can pretend that it means that you take on every characteristic and thought of Hitler. It's stupid.
To find this alarming.
If he says
it is what?
I said, yeah, we're not saying this. We're not guessing what he's going to do. He's saying,
no,
this is what I'm going to do.
The Supreme Court
I'm going to get Liz Cheney in a military tribunal. His people have said they're going to arrest my producers. He said he was going to shut down CBS because he didn't like how they edited a package in 60 minutes. He's out of control. His words.
I love that gets applauded. This is so devoid of any kind. Scary, scary, scary. He's the worst. He's the worst. None of this is happening. They all know it. They're taking all of this out of context in order to try to scare people. That's all this is. They cannot win on here are our policies. So instead, it's this guy's going to put us in jail. And you know what? If he puts Mark Cuban in jail, so be it. And if he puts Joe Scarborough in jail, so be it. He puts his producers in jail, so be it. The whole thing is so devoid of any context and reality that it doesn't even matter to these people. They take these things as best they can, and then they try to manipulate them and then manipulate the American people. That's it. Okay? It's that simple. It is really that simple. So let's stop with this nonsense and these quotes in these books. Trump's saying it. No, it's being quoted secondhand from people in the books, and it's being disputed. But they don't care. They just want to make the argument. And they don't care if it's true or not. It's just about getting it out there. They say something, and it doesn't matter if it's disputed or not. Once it's out there, the conversation started, and here we go. And that's what they're doing. 2 weeks before an election, they are completely lost. They don't know how to defend Kamala Harris, so it has to be all about Donald Trump because God knows Harris sucks. They know it. We know it. Everyone knows it, and they know they're probably going to lose. So here they are. This is the desperation they're going to pull out.